And welcome to this demo of the Mark II PV power router. Got quite a few pieces of equipment here, just quickly run through them. This is my dump load. It's a 3 kilowatt space heater to simulate the 3 kilowatt immersion that most of us have in our systems. This is my house base load, otherwise known as a hairdryer. This is a very nice new piece of kit which I've just got, a tenner from eBay. It's a 3-phase electricity meter and really allows you to see what's going on. So I've got 3 circuits in here, one for the base load, one for the dump load and one for the PV that I'm simulating. And it really does, with the cover off, you can really see what's going on. There's one disc inside, there's one set of gears, there's 3 coils, 3 sets of voltage and current coils, one for each phase. So you can really use it to demonstrate the balance conditions that we need to see how Mark II is working. There's my CT with the same 3 circuits going through. A handy can of beans to keep the wires down. We have the Arduino Uno, perfectly standard. We have one of which is PCBs, the input circuit and the AC to AC voltage transformer for the sensor, voltage sensor. Moving on here onto the other PCB, we have the trigger. This is the zero crossing variant. We have some LEDs which I've recently put into the standard build for Mark II-I. We have the triac. We have a little switch by which I can go from normal to anti-flicker mode. We have the laptop, which is simply showing what's going on the serial monitor. And last but not least, we have the means by which we can simulate PV. This is another heater which goes up to 2 kilowatts. So, looking on the screen, I'm not sure whether this will pick up. If I were to reset the Arduino from scratch, press the little button, we get a display coming up on the screen to tell me it's version 4 of the Mark II-I. This is working in a fixed timer mode, so every 125 microseconds we have an interrupt and another ADC conversion takes place. That's 2 conversions per 250 milliseconds, 250 microseconds, or 80 pairs of conversions per main cycle. So it's working quite quick. This tells me that the capacity of the energy bucket, which in fact is 3,600 joules, in integer maths numbers is 2.9 million. And it's telling me that there's an upper and a lower energy threshold, and the two are exactly the same at the moment because we're in normal mode. It also tells me that because I'm in a workload check mode, which is one of the options you can set up at compile time, it's telling me that I've got about 140 microseconds of spare time per 250 when the Arduino is actually doing nothing. This is a little background routine which just computes the amount of spare time. So this is saying that set up like this, there's quite a bit of spare time, so if one wanted to send the information off by RF or whatever, there is plenty of time to do it. If you slowed down the interrupt, so it only happens, say, at 200 microseconds rather than 125, you then only get 50 loops per main cycle. You then have even more time to operate. So moving over to the Arduino, we've got these lights here, and the red one is the underflow. That says that it's sitting at the bottom of the energy bucket. The green one is flashing on and off pretty randomly. That's because there's no current actually flowing through our CT on any of these coils, so we're just getting random positive and negative energy content out of each main cycle. So if I was to put on, say, some base load, which is my hairdryer, we'd expect to see the green light go firmly off because no main cycles would then have surplus power, and the red light would come on full. If I were to repeat this while looking at the dial, it's static now. So we can see that base load consumption of the house makes the dial go forward, which is what we'd expect. Returning back to here, if I were to put on some PV by switching on my space heater, then that would, you'd expect to see every cycle would then have some positive positive content, so the green light would be fully on, the red light would go off, and once the energy bucket is filled up, we'd get the overflow coming on. There we are. So I've got about 1 kilowatt of simulated PV, so it's taking a couple of seconds for the energy bucket to fill up. So we now, as far as the system is concerned, we're exporting. If we look at the dial, pretty clear to see we're exporting. So at this stage, this light being on says that the system thinks we're overflowing, and a real meter would now have its red light on, well in my case, and we'd be overflowing, losing energy, donating our surplus power to the grid for no useful benefit. What we want to do at this stage is to harness or divert this surplus power, which I can do by switching on my dump load, and we'd see its light go on briefly. I don't know how well that's going to come out, but it's now started flicking, which is the characteristic hallmark of Mark II router doing something. So the dial looks like it's stopped. Putting a hand over my heater, I can tell it is doing something. It's hot, so we're generating PV, we're diverting to the dump load at the same rate. The meter is staying still, which is good. If I were to operate the switch and go from normal mode to anti-flicker mode, then we'd actually see the router start to do something more clear. What it's doing now is we're ramping up and down within about a half a watt hour zone, but if you look at the numbers, that number 10 on the left, it's always stopping at the same place. So we've now got roughly symmetrical operation. We've got 3 kilowatts of dump. I've got 1150, I think, watts of generation. So we're seeing this typical seesawing action. If I were to, what shall I do? Let's put on a little bit less PV. This is 11. Let's go to 700 only. And we will now find that it takes longer to charge up and less time to discharge. If I were to put 2 kilowatts of PV, we then find that it'll be working in the opposite. How does that mean? I lose track at this stage. Anyway, it's still operating, so, and that little 10 is still where it was before, so we're not getting any noticeable drift. If I were to at this stage put the hairdryer on, then this would reduce the amount of PV. Well, we've got 3 systems clearly in balance there. We've got the PV being generated, we've got the dump load, and we've got the house base load. The dump load is the difference between the two. And we can see what's happening at the meter here, because we've got the 3 circuits going through the 3 separate coils, 2 of them going forward and the PV one going backwards. We've got the same arrangement here, the 2 consumption routes. I've got the live wires going forwards, and the on the PV generation I've got the live wire going backwards. It really doesn't matter whether you use the live or the neutral. I've chosen the live on this occasion, but I often use the neutral only because it's a prettier colour. It really doesn't make any difference, and we're still in a balance mode, so we're seeing the green light coming on and off in antiphase with the triac. Whenever the triac is on, we're getting negative content in each of our main cycles, so the green light goes off, and vice versa. So I think that's all the things I can demonstrate. I've shown how the LEDs work, I've showed how the little switch works, and we've seen a balance between each of the three circuits. I'll put up on the forum a diagram showing how all this works together, and I'll also leave this set up for a day or so. So if anyone's got any questions about how it works, or would like to just ask me to go over any parts of it or demonstrate it, or if the focus doesn't come out on the camera, I can change it around and do it again. Just pop me a line on the forum. Apart from that, thanks for watching, and cheers for now.